And the right, well, we'll just go down on what we have here. So we have auxiliary number 1, which is the effects left. So it's backstage left, that back speaker. Then we have effects right, which is again that backstage right speaker that are mounted to the walls. Then we have the booth that we've unplugged. And then 4 is the stage, the 2 stage monitors that are down, firing straight down. They're actually towards the back, aimed front. And then right here we have equalizer. So this is your equalizer. So I would probably suggest that we don't do a whole lot of equalization for microphones unless people need a little more. So the more we mess with equalization in the microphone realm, we manipulate their voice so it doesn't sound like them, especially singing. So the only time you'd probably want to mess with that is if someone's kind of pitchy. We can kind of cut that pitchiness down. You can't really make someone that sings bad sound better with equalization. So
Sure you can.
Do you
They
just
did it
want
with
them all?
Britney Spears.
you could try it.
Do you just want them all facing up then?
On speech, the majority, yes. So
Okay.
unity, anytime you see a U is basically unity.
Yeah.
So it's
So you want all
0.
of those on 0,
Uh-huh.
usually.
The only one I would probably suggest that you maybe change is the music. So the CD player, if you want more bass, so say a dance company came in and they wanted more bass, you can turn that up. And that's just highs, mids, and lows. So this is basically turning up the bass on the blue level on the bottom. And then you have the highs and the mids. So right here would be pan, so I can pan left and pan right. So if I wanted just someone to come out of left, someone to come out of right, I would pan left, pan right. The low cut button right here I've activated for your microphones. What that does is it will cut all the low end that's coming into that microphone off. So what that does is that's really good for microphones for gain before feedback. So if I'm talking in a microphone, the biggest thing that causes feedback is that low harmonic getting back in the microphone. So by us kind of rolling that off, 75 is pretty rare that you're going to have someone, especially here, that's a really bassy baritone voice. So I've just rolled all those off. It'll allow you to get a lot more gain before feedback on your microphones, especially the lapel microphones. Because anytime you make a loud thumping noise on the stage, people walking, falling, that low harmonic will resonate inside that microphone, and that's when the feedback starts to build up. And then we have a mute. So we all know what mutes are. They just turn the channel on and off. And then we have your fader. So this raises and lowers the volume. So in between gain and fader is where we want to set the mics up at dress rehearsal. So the ideal thing to do would be bring this gain all the way down, bring the fader all the way up to unity, and then just start to bring this up on a channel by channel basis. We don't want to just put this unity all the way across at a certain level and then play with it. So start with number 1, have them talking to it, have the person using that mic stay with that mic. This is kind of crucial for a dress rehearsal for a play. And then for like instruments, we would want to mic those differently too, if it's an acoustic or an electric, if it's drums, things like that. So what I would do is recommend, the reason, and this is kind of where people vary in how they mix, they might want to try and remember that I only bring them up past the 1 and -2. It's really hard to remember where everyone's set if all of your faders kind of look like that. So the best way to do would have all your faders on that unity line look kind of symmetrical. And then I bring the gain up here to match what they're talking. So different sensitivities on the microphones, different people speaking. So that's where I would adjust that. This is going to be the best way to get gain before feedback. So allow your volume to come up. You can make subtle adjustments right here during the play with people who are talking louder, softer. You can always raise and lower that up, but a good starting point would be changing these to match each individual person. Does that make sense? So that's a good way to start. Some people just live and die by the mutes. So when they go off stage, they mute them, so they don't actually bring them down. So, and that depends too on who's ever mixing. So some people will just mute them and leave the channels alone. You have to remember to.
That's the way I do it.
Yeah. So just make sure that you remember. You gotta have to know your cues really good, because, or train your speakers to actually mute their mics, which is, we all know, never happens. So they'll just walk off stage and keep talking to all the cast members. So mutes, so that's really however you like to do it. So if you're always mixing at unity, you could always cut them out and then slowly bring them back up. Or if you're used to muting them, you can leave them up and just unmute them. So that's really however you're comfortable with it, because there's no right or wrong way on that. So then we have master over here. So master will do your house. So if I raise and lower, it's going to raise and lower the left and right speakers. So right here you have old cluster and sub. It doesn't even look like those are hooked up. So there's nothing going to those. So
They were last year.
So that might have, I don't know if someone's disconnected them, what, so if you want, I don't know if there's a catwalk, I could get up there and look, but it looks like those are disconnected. I don't know if they've been removed or not, but nothing's hooked to them right now, those channels of amplifiers. The wires are there, they're just not hooked up out there, so they're not really controlling anything. So I can look into that for you, but just know that when I bring this up, master, it's basically those left and right speakers. So the only difference is now, if I do have the auxes turned up, so I have the left and right and the stage turned up because I'm on post fader, so wherever I bring this up, they're going to turn up too. That makes sense? They follow whatever the fader is turned up. If I push this button, now it doesn't matter what I do, because they're after, so they're before, they're pre-fader, so they're before whatever I do here, it doesn't affect it. So that's good for maybe people doing dancing or cheerleaders that might want to practice down there. They don't have to use the whole house system. You can just down fire the music right to the stage, and you don't have to, they can turn it up pretty loud, you don't have to worry kind of disrupting the rest of the school. But you guys will probably mix in a post fade. That way, you probably want to make sure someone's up there and get that at a level that's not overpowering. Especially when people are using a lot of microphones, you might want to turn these, especially the stage ones. The side ones probably won't be as effective as much because they're off the stage. So microphones, we don't really pick those up a lot. But the down firing ones for a play probably don't want to be as loud as maybe a dance or a band. So you just have to kind of play with that. You don't want it so overpowering down there, but you do want to have them hear themselves because they won't know how they sound projecting out, so you want to give them some back. Any questions at all? I went through it really fast, but how have you guys been mixing? So there's kind of a lot of little things wrong. So one, this is a wireless, what was causing the hum was this was for an auto mic wireless. So this was meant to plug into one of these wireless and you can use it as an auto system. That being said, so like a principal or someone could actually use a microphone on them without anyone running the board. So, but this was plugged in down underneath. She just taped it off that says don't plug into it. So it was a old intercom line. So headsets for stage crew, which has voltage on it. So that's what was causing that hum. So don't plug it in there. If you want to use the auto, plug it into one of the microphones. So that was the hum. And then I went through and EQ'd and balanced the system. So there was some things that were, so the limiters were stopping you from going to a certain level, and everything was rolled off at 100, so you would never get this loud bass. So what, yeah, you never had that low end before.
No.
At all. Because it was rolled off, so it was probably all right for speech, but anytime you incorporated music is probably where it was rolling those off and kind of making it.
Where was it taken? Where was it done?
At 100.
No, on the back of the.
Not inside this guy, so
Yeah.
With the computer, so I had to get into it and play with it all. But it's all working right now, so if you guys are running the board for the dress rehearsal tonight, we'll want to definitely run through these microphones. So another thing that we saw is some of these mics, the ones with the dials on them, they were turned up really loud. So that means that I don't have a lot of play right here before they start feeding back. So the best would be to kind of turn that down. That's a sensitivity. So it makes it really, really hot. So it's gonna pick up a lot more. The best would be kind of tone that down a little bit, and then we turn the gain up a little bit.
Well,
And it won't be
there was
so
a couple
sensitive.
from last year, we had to do that because their voices were way, 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 way soft.
Yeah, and so I would probably see how much gain you can get out here before we start cranking those up,
Yeah.
because that's what causes that quick feedback
Yeah,
to
that's
happen.
what we do.
So yeah, start with maybe a middle. So like on this one, it depends on a person. If a person's a really soft speaker, you're gonna have to turn their mic up. You might have to turn this up a lot. So it all depends on whoever's speaking. So that's where the dress rehearsal is so important, is just getting all the mic levels straight. Unfortunately, you guys have an analog board, so you can't just save the show. So
Yeah.
once they are set, probably don't mess with these gains at all. After dress rehearsal, I wouldn't really mess with these guys because they're set per microphone. So, Gomez is always going to have